राधा कुंज बिहारी राधे।
जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय भगवती सुभद्रा।
जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा मयि सुभद्रा।
श्रीनाथ जी जय बाल गोपाल जय श्रीनाथ जी जय गिरि गोवर्धन।
जय श्रीनाथ जी जय बाल गोपाल जय श्रीनाथ जी जय गिरि गोवर्धन।
जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय।
जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय।
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा।
प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा।
प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद।
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद।
जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा।
जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। जय गौर हरि बोल
हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल।
जय हरि नाम संकीर्तना की
जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय।
नंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ओम ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथां जितां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तातकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले
श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने।
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे
निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So, today is a very auspicious day. It is Ekadashi in the holy month of Kartik. Observing the Ekadashi Vrat in the month of Kartik brings so much benefit for us. Ekadashi is one of the recommended austerities that we observe throughout the year. It is a day in which we fast from grains. And not only we fast from grains, we also try to increase some of our devotional activities. It is a day where we try to spend a little bit less time than normal on the body and more time on our soul. And these two Ekadashis that occur during the month of Kartik are very, very auspicious for those who are able to observe. So Krishna has generously arranged so it is on a Sunday. So prasadam arrangements are relatively easy. You just have to come and enjoy. So we'll have a very nice discussion today on this pastime of Govardhana Puja and Krishna lifting Govardhana Hill. It is a very important festival, and we can say one of the most important in our Vedic calendar. Anybody has been to Govardhana here? You have been. One very fortunate soul. So we'll pray today that someday we can have darshan of Govardhana Hill and offer our obeisances, as Lord Krishna himself did, as we'll see in this pastime. So this pastime teaches us many lessons. 3 we'll emphasize today. The first being the dangers of pride. When we become prideful in anything, it leads to our ruination. And when we become prideful in our spiritual life, it leads to very poor consequences. So we'll learn about the dangers of pride. We'll learn about the importance of taking shelter of Krishna and no one else. Meaning, how to perform our worship intelligently. Krishna is going to explain in great detail. And then we're going to see how Krishna reciprocates with the desires of his devotees. How sweet he is when he bestows his mercy upon his devotees. How he is the ultimate shelter for all of us. So we'll see these 3 things during this pastime. This pastime is also very significant for myself and my family because my Radha Krishna deities that my parents have, they were given to us from Govardhana Puja. Krishna was sitting on top of Govardhana Hill some 25 years ago, and my parents have been worshipping them ever since. So our family deities are also known as Radha Giridhari. So there's some special significance for us. So Govardhana, this is a mountain. What is so significant about this mountain, this hill that is within the district of Mathura? It has so much significance. Srimati Radharani said, she'll not come with Krishna to the material world unless, amongst few things she said must come, One of them was Govardhan. Only if Govardhan came, then. Because Govardhan exists eternally in the spiritual world. In the Nectar of Instruction we were reading on Thursday, that of all the places, even superior to Vaikuntha is the district of Mathura. And more sweet than even within the district of Mathura is the forest of Vrindavan. And the most special place within the forest of Vrindavan is this area of Govardhan. And then amongst the area of Govardhan, most sweet is? Alright, everyone was attentive. So, this Govardhan is very, very auspicious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once received a small stone, Shila, from Govardhan. He was staying in Jagannath Puri, and he was going, one devotee had come from Vrindavan and had gifted him this. And he was so enthralled, he strung it and he wore it around his neck every day. And every day he would worship this Govardhan Shila. He would touch to his eyes and his head. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in the mood of devotee was wearing this Govardhan Shila. You can see how auspicious Govardhan is. It says every day he was bathing Govardhan with these tears of ecstasy as he was relishing the sweet mood of devotion in separation of Krishna. This Govardhan has many sweet pastimes. How it appeared in Braja. Pulastya Muni had gone to the mountain region and asked Dronachal, I'm very attracted to this mountain. I would like to bring it to Varanasi, which is very flat, but it is a place of great spiritual quest. And so he desired to take it with him. And Dronachal reluctantly said yes. And he started to take it. But Giriraj, Govardhan, gave one condition. That wherever you put it down, from there I'll not move. So Pulastya Muni picked up, said, no problem, I'm a very powerful rishi, and I can bring. So he started carrying. But as Pulastya Muni was flying over Vraj, Govardhan saw the beautiful lands of Vraj. And they knew who would be stepping in every square inch of Vraj. None other than Krishna. So he became very, very heavy. And Pulastya Muni thought, oh, I'm getting a little bit tired. Let me take a break. So he descended upon Vraj and set the mountain in its place today, where it is. Excuse me. So Pulastya Muni set it down, took some rest, and then he went to pick it up again. But it would not budge. He had forgotten the condition that was put upon him. Pulastya Muni actually became very upset. And he cursed Giriraj that you will lose the size, your mountain will shrink by the size of one mustard seed. And so it is shrinking like that, actually. So Giriraj has great importance. Actually, this pastime has special significance with Lord Ram's lila. When Hanumanji and all the Vanar army were searching for big stones and boulders to help build this very long bridge, very wide bridge, Hanuman had come all the way north to Mathura. And seeing Govardhan, he was ready to bring Govardhan to form part of the bridge. And Govardhan was very happy, thinking, wow, I can render service to my beloved Lord. His feet will walk over me as he reaches Lanka. And as soon as Hanumanji was about to pick up Govardhan, the message came that the bridge was completed. And so Govardhan was not needed. So Govardhan was lamenting, wow, I was about to be lifted and used in the service of Krishna. We'll see how this desire becomes fulfilled also. As we know, at the end, Krishna is going to lift Govardhana. Why he selected Govardhana as the place to give shelter is to fulfill this desire. Krishna always is fulfilling the desires of his devotees. He's always fulfilling the desires of his devotees. So this pastime begins in Braj. And Nanda Maharaj and all the elderly cowherd men were busy in some activity. And Krishna came upon the men who are working. And we know young boys, 7 years old, they're very curious. What are you doing? What's going on? What is this for? And in this way, Krishna began to inquire. We'll read one verse. This is from the 10th canto, 24th chapter. And this is the 3rd verse. Lord Krishna said, "My dear father, kindly explain to me what this great endeavor of yours is all about. What is it meant to accomplish? Is this a ritual sacrifice? Then, for whose satisfaction is it intended? And by what means is it going to be executed?" So Krishna is asking these questions of Nanda Maharaj. So these questions are also very instructive for us. The elderly cowherd men, they were, and all the gopis as well, they were preparing for a big puja. And we know it was the Indra puja, as Nanda Maharaj will explain. But Krishna is asking these questions as a guide to us, that we should not be performing rituals and different religious sacrifices without understanding the why, the meanings as to what we are doing. We should have firm understanding why I'm doing this. Yes, family traditions and history may lead us down a path of certain worships, but we should not forget and not fail to understand the why. So Krishna is asking these questions of Nanda Maharaj. At first, Nanda Maharaj was thinking, this is a young boy, he'll not understand. But Krishna was relentless. And he continues to query, why you are performing this sacrifice? So Nanda Maharaj begins to explain that, my dear Krishna, as you know, we are cowherd men. We are Vaishyas. We are dependent on rainfall for our sustenance. We are farmers and cowherd men. So because of that, we have to be thankful to Lord Indra for providing so much rain so that we may feed the cows, grow the crops, and maintain ourselves. And so in reciprocation for Lord Indra's provision of rain, we are performing a very elaborate yajna, sacrifice. So Krishna, hearing this, he understood that Lord Indra had become proud of his position as the king of the devatas and the provisioner of rains. We know without rain, clean water, nothing else matters. If we do not have clean water, we will not be able to maintain ourselves in any way. The factories may produce gadgets and cars and all this stuff, but without clean water, we'll have no farms, we'll have nothing to drink. It is our most basic need. So Lord Indra, seeing this, was feeling proud. And Krishna knew it. Krishna is all-knowing. Guess what? He also knows when we are feeling a little proud. Even if we may not exhibit it externally, he knows. And when Krishna sees his devotee endeavoring in devotional life, he protects him. He protects him at all costs. Krishna is going to smash Indra's pride. It is not, we should not think, it is to make Indra look bad. Or for Krishna to demonstrate who is boss. No. This is Krishna's greatest love. because he knows that if pride seeps into the heart, it will destroy our bhakti. So Krishna, with so much love and compassion, is going to destroy Lord Indra's pride. And by hearing this pastime, we should also pray to the Lord that you please also help me and you smash my pride. We may not appreciate the means by which it is smashed, but we should appreciate the great importance of it being smashed. Because bhakti will not continue to grow. The creeper, the bhakti lata, will not grow if we are putting the poison in that creeper of pride. It is one of the contaminants within our heart. So Krishna, to smash Lord Indra's pride, began to preach to Nanda Baba and all the elderly Kaurav, actually in a very atheistic way. He begins to explain this karma mimamsa philosophy, which is bogus philosophy, but Krishna has an intent here. He began to explain that, my dear father, you do not have to worship Lord Indra for rains. Good in this world will come based on good action. If I do good karma, I'll get good reactions. All you have to do is worship your duties and your activities. You just do good, and Lord Indra has to give rain. There is no need to worship him. So, stop this nonsense. It's just like if you go to the shopkeeper and you pay your bills, they have to give you the product. It's the way it works. So similarly, Krishna is explaining that based on one's karma, it'll rain or not. It has nothing to do with this worship. Everything is being created, maintained, and destroyed according to the laws of karma. So, the karma mimamsa philosophers don't subscribe to that. There is a manager of this laws of karma, which is Krishna. They just simply say everything is due to karma. So in this way, Krishna was very strongly minimizing the position of Lord Indra. And he began to explain. So Lord Nanda Baba then said, and then Krishna said, you should take all of this and worship who is really giving us pleasure and resources. And that is Govardhana. Govardhana is maintaining all of Raj. The waters that flow from Govardhana are so enriched in minerals that when we use it to irrigate our fields, wonderful crops grow. Govardhana is giving wonderful flowers that are used in the various sacrifices and worship we are performing. The cows are grazing all of Govardhana, eating its very nutritious grass. We are cowherd men. We are the maintainers of cows. Govardhana is giving all of the children places to play. In this way, Govardhana was serving all of the residents of Vrindavan. So Krishna said, we should worship Govardhana. No need to worship Lord Indra. So Krishna here is giving us the instruction in an indirect way, but making a very important point. That ultimately one must come to the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, he explains over and over again the importance of worshiping the Supreme Lord. Because by worshiping the demigods, the devatas, we enter into a very business relationship with the demigods. They'll give according to whatever we put in. But when we worship Krishna, He gives according to what is good for us. The shopkeeper will give ice cream to the child based on the money given. But the mother and father will give ice cream to the child based on what is good for them. When we worship Krishna, we will get what is good for us. And we have to remember, what we want is always, not always, what is good for us. So Krishna here is establishing the great importance for all of us. And he's instructing his own father and all the elderly cowboy that we must take to the shelter and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by doing so, because the demigods are the various limbs of the body of Krishna, by worshipping Krishna, all the demigods will be worshipped and satisfied. So it is not that we are ignoring the worship, but we are directing the worship as Krishna has instructed himself. So, Nanda Baba then asked, well, how to perform this Govardhan Puja? Now, today we see Govardhan Puja is celebrated by hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pilgrims in Vrindavan in a very elaborate way. It is the main festival, you can say, in Vraj. To do Govardhan Parikrama on this day, you will not find a place to put your feet. So many devotees are performing this Govardhan Puja on this day. Srila Prabhupada, by his great mercy, has brought Govardhan Puja throughout the world. In every temple on Friday, Govardhan Puja will be celebrated. Every temple. Which means all of us will have the great opportunity to perform this puja wherever we may be. This is the great mercy of Srila Prabhupada. They bring these great festivals within reach of us. We just have to go a few 20, 30 miles to the temple and participate. And this Govardhan Puja, we'll see how important it is, as Krishna explains now. So Krishna began to explain, this has never been performed before. So Krishna began to explain how to perform this worship. And he instructed, you take all these preparations and you make a giant feast, and we will offer to Govardhan. You will give charity to the Brahmanas and feed them very nicely. You'll decorate the cows and give them the best of best grass. You'll take and feed even the dog eaters in the lower rungs of society. Krishna's saying, no one must be abandoned. Everybody must be careful. And then we'll go on parikrama. So we can see Krishna personally inaugurated this Govardhan Puja. He gave the very specific instructions how to perform it. And then he himself will perform it. So we can imagine how important this puja is. That Lord Krishna himself created it, instructed, and performed it. So he instructed that you make an anukut, that is a mountain of offerings. Govardhan is very hungry. We make a lot of, we should make mountains of rice, vegetables, soups, hot and cold, sweets. There should be a lake of sweet rice. There should be rasgullas, sandeshes, pakoras, every type of preparation. We should empty our storehouses and make the best of best, and we'll offer to Govardhan. So, Nanda Baba, after asking Krishna, can't we do this? We'll do this festival again. Krishna said, no, we must do it now. Too much is required. So Nanda Maharaj relented. He was convinced by Krishna. So the next day they went and performed this elaborate Govardhan Puja. Everyone had descended to Govardhan. Huge offerings were made, and the Brahmanas were received nicely, offered sumptuous prasadam, given cows in charity. The cows were decorated very nicely with jewels, beautiful blankets. How many cows Nanda Maharaj had? 900,000. So imagine how many cows came in Vraj. Who knows? All of them were sent. And then Krishna instructed that we will perform a procession, a parikrama around Govardhana. Today you see, you go to Govardhana, tens of thousands of pilgrims will be performing parikrama every day. Some will be doing Dandavat parikrama. It's 22 kilometers. They'll do barefoot. And do Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself perform parikrama. Sanatana Goswami would do parikrama of Govardhana every day until he was very senior in age. So we see by the pastimes that this doing parikrama of Govardhana is extremely auspicious. So Krishna inaugurated the first parikrama of Govardhana, and he said, the Brahmanas will lead us, and then the cows. Krishna is Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahma Hitaya Cha. Go Brahma Hita. Krishna is the protector of the cows and the Brahmanas. The success of any society, the progress of any society, has nothing to do with its gross domestic product, its crime rate, its average household income. Nothing. It has to do with how well the cows and the Brahmanas are protected. In societies where cows and Brahmanas are protected, those societies flourish. And in societies where cows and Brahmanas are not protected, societies vanquish. Krishna showing us we must protect the cows and Brahmanas. So they led the parikrama. All the residents of Vrindavan, he said, you come in your finest dresses. Everyone came in their fancy saris, dhotis, kurtas, jewelry, makeup, everything. The ladies were seated on bullock carts. Some of the men were walking. And this way, a giant procession around Govardhana began. And along the way, where they had made the big offering, now Krishna was going to show that this Govardhana is non-different from him himself. So Govardhana took a manifested form and began to eat all of the offerings in a giant form. Krishna expanded himself. He remained there as well as a 7-year-old boy, commenting, oh look, Govardhana is honoring and eating all of the offerings. He wanted to prove to Nanda Maharaj and all that this was very important. This was not just some sentimental worship. And so Govardhana began to eat all of the offerings. And then Krishna showing us, he himself, seeing this wonderful darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered his Dandavat pranams to Govardhana. And all the residents of Vrindavan followed suit, and they also offered their pranams to Govardhana. So in this way, Krishna showed us how to perform this parikrama, how to perform this anukut, how to perform this Govardhan Puja. On Friday we'll have the Govardhan Puja, and it is said that if you circumambulate the Govardhan, the anukut that will be there, anyone who would like to bring some offerings for the anukut is most welcome, please do. And anyone who circumambulates it 4 times gets the same benefit of doing parikrama around Govardhan and Vrindavan. That's how merciful the Lord is. And how merciful Srila Prabhupada is. He's giving us all a chance to do Govardhan Parikrama on Govardhan Puja Day. How many of us would like to do that? So we'll have that chance on Friday. So in this way, Krishna inaugurated this festival. He showed by manifesting himself in Govardhan that he is non-different than Govardhan. And thus you'll see devotees will have Govardhan Shilas. On many altars in ISKCON around the world, you'll see Govardhan, Giriraj, and will be worshipped every day as a deity, because it is Krishna himself. He proved it as he honored all of the offerings that were given to him. So, the festival concluded, everybody went back to their home, and everyone was happy? Everyone was happy but one. Lord Indra was very upset. Lord Indra was upset because Krishna had taken all these wonderful offerings that were meant for him, and he had offered it in his mind to a pile of rocks. And he became very upset. Now I'll read some verses. This is from the 25th chapter, and you can see the pride. Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear King Parikshit, when Indra understood that his sacrifice had been put aside, he became furious with Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men who were accepting Krishna as their Lord. Angry Indra sent forth the clouds of universal destruction, known as Samvartaka. Imagining himself the supreme controller, he spoke as follows. Indra said, 'Just see how these cowherd men living in the forest have become so greatly intoxicated by their prosperity. They have surrendered to an ordinary human being, Krishna, and thus they have offended the gods. Their taking shelter of Krishna is just like the foolish attempt of men who abandon transcendental knowledge of the self and instead try to cross over the great ocean of material existence in false boats of fruitive ritual sacrifices. These cowherd men have acted inimically toward me by taking shelter of this ordinary human being, Krishna, who thinks himself very wise, but who is simply a foolish, arrogant, over-talkative child.'" You can see what pride does to us. It completely destroys our intelligence. Lord Indra has been serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his entire existence. His post has been given to him by Krishna. This statement, thinks himself very wise but is simply foolish, arrogant, and over-talkative child, is like you going into your boss's office on Monday morning and saying, "Let me read you something," and calling that person foolish, arrogant, and over-talkative child. What will happen to you? Bye. This is what Lord Indra said. But because pride, when it manifests in the heart, we lose ultimately our intelligence, our ability to decipher. So Lord Indra became very, very angry. And what he did? He sent his Samvartaka cloud. This cloud comes during the time of destruction. At the end of each day of Brahma, there is a destruction of the creation. And it is inundated with floods of water. And what brings this water are these Samvartaka clouds. So Indra instructed these Samvartaka clouds to come to Vrindavan and to devastate all of Vrindavan. He wanted specifically to kill the cows because he knew the Vrajabasis could not survive without their cows. He was going right to the core. He says, you kill all the Brahmanas, the elders. You flood them with torrential rains. Clouds were somewhat hesitant, not knowing what was going on. But they followed the order of their master. And under Lord Indra's order, torrential rains came. All of Vraj was becoming flooded. You could not see high ground from low ground. It is explained, the rain was coming down as if pillars, giant pillars, were falling. So heavy was the rain. The cows and animals were becoming extremely frightened. All the elders were worried where we'll find dry land. Giant hailstorms, thunderous lightning, an extremely terrifying situation. Everyone was shivering and cold and wet and fearful. And in that position, where did they go? Who did they turn to?
Krishna.
They knew at this point only Krishna can save them. And they went to Krishna and said, Krishna, please save us. When we run into the torrents of rain in our day-to-day life, sometimes in devotional service we're going to find some storms along our path. But the only shelter to those storms in our devotional service is the Supreme Lord Himself. The residents of Vrindavan are showing us where to put our faith in security. Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Surdam Sarva Bhoktaram. He says, I am the well-wisher of everyone. And when one knows that, along with Him being the source of all, the beneficiary of all sacrifices and the source of everything, then one finds peace. Shantim Myam Yatam Richati. That one will find peace when one remembers Krishna is our protector and well-wisher. So the residents of Vrindavan went to Krishna. He came out onto the porch of his house and he said, we'll go to Govardhana. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that when Krishna proceeded from his front porch to Govardhana, Yogamaya had come and separated the clouds so not one drop of rain would fall on his beautiful turban or his clothes. Krishna did not appear under Govardhana soaking wet from these torrential downpour. Not one drop of rain was able to touch. And so Krishna went to Govardhana and he very simply, he did not, no. As an elephant picks up a small flower, he picked up Govardhan Hill. How big was Govardhan Hill? 16 miles high. 2 yojanas. The shadow of Govardhan would reach Mathura. It was 8 yojanas long. 64 miles. Huge. And Krishna picked up and just carried. He did not carry with both hands. He did not just carry with his right hand, the strong hand. He carried with his left hand. But not even his whole hand. He carried his left finger. But actually not even his left finger. He was carrying on the fingernail of his left hand, of his left pinky. And he was simply lifting. And he invited all the residents of Vrindavan, all the animals, everyone to come and take shelter under this giant umbrella. He says, don't worry, it won't drop. Now you can imagine. If someone is holding a boulder like this, would you step underneath? Would you step underneath? Krishna is carrying a giant mountain. It is balancing on the fingernail of his left finger. And all the residents of Vrindavan went in without any concern, any worry. We have so much worry. Will Krishna protect me? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if food doesn't come tomorrow? No chapatis. What if my health? We have so many worries. But Krishna is our only infallible protector. Our only perfect protector. We have to come to that faith. That it is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not my 401k, not my security system, not this, that, or the other. That is my protector. It is only the Supreme Lord. So all the residents of Vrindavan very wonderfully entered the shelter of Govardhana. Now I said the third lesson here was how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. So all the residents of Vrindavan, they were enjoying every day with Krishna. But they had one lamentation. And that lamentation was that they only got to spend a little bit of time with Krishna each day. Mother Yashoda and the elderly gopis would be bathing Krishna and dressing him, giving him wonderful ornaments and beautiful clothes. And meanwhile, while Krishna and Balaram are getting ready, all the cowherd boys would be knocking on the window, Krishna, come on, it's time to go, it's time to go. We have to go play. We have to go play. And Mother Yashoda would be taking her sweet time because she knew as soon as he left, she would not be able to see him anymore. So she would undress and redress, put this clothes on, that clothes on, these earrings, this, comb his hair 3-4 times, just delaying when she would have to let Krishna go and his friends could enjoy. His friends were anxious, hurry up, hurry up. Because they knew they only had a limited amount of time. They had a curfew. They had to come home at a certain time. In this way, and when they would go to the forest, the gopis would be wondering when Krishna is going to come back so we can see his beautiful dust-covered form. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, you may see the picture. How anxiously they're waiting for Krishna's return from the forest. They're waiting on the rooftops. Because from a height they can get the first sign. And even before they would see him, they would see the cloud of dust rising in the air from all of the cows that were being grazed as they made their way back. So anxious. So in this way, everyone was having to take turns. And they all had a desire. We want uninterrupted darshan of you. So to fulfill this desire also, Krishna enacted this pastime. Now one may ask, why Krishna gave so much difficulty to the residents of Vrindavan? Why he put them in a state of where they were so fearful? They were shivering from cold. They were scared. So much trouble. Why he would do that? As soon as the clouds come, he could have called Ananta Shesh to bring his hood and created a whole umbrella all over Raj. So easy. He could do that. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that he wanted to give the residents a little bit of anxiety to sweeten the experience they would have under the Govardhan hill. As we know, if we are very, very, very hungry, he explains, then when we get some food, we enjoy it that much more. If we are not so hungry, and then we enjoy. But when we're extremely hungry, then we enjoy that food. Similarly, from that position of great fear and distress, it was fueling their surrender and love to Krishna. So also to us, sometimes in devotional service, we'll get some difficulty. You see the turbulent ocean Srila Prabhupada had to cross. It fueled his love and surrender to Krishna. Just as the turbulent rains fueled the love and surrender of the residents of Vrindavan. So don't become unmotivated when turbulent times come. See it as the blessing of Krishna to help us taste a little bit more intensely the sweet love of devotional service. So the residents of Vrindavan experiencing this, when they got darshan of the Lord, they were in bliss. Krishna was standing like this, and they saw his beautiful form, legs crossed over in his threefold bending form, curly hair, peacock feather, flute in hand, and they were just mesmerized. Now, how many residents of Vrindavan are there? You see, when we have like Janmashtami celebration in the temple at midnight, we're getting darshan, we're trying to peek over, trying to snake our way through. The children always get to the front. We're trying to get up close and personal darshan. But Krishna was reciprocating while he's holding this hill in such a way that everyone had up close and personal darshan, though he was situated in one spot. Now we know if somebody is situated in one spot, clearly some will have a front view, some will have an angle view, some will have a side view, some will have a back view. No? Because he was in the middle and everybody was around. But everybody was seeing the beautiful face of the Lord. Everybody had a front view. Nobody was behind somebody else. Everybody had a front row view. How is that possible? By our material calculations, that is not possible. But Krishna reciprocates with each of his devotees in such a personal way that we all have a very intimate connection with the Supreme Lord. And he is proving this. All the residents of Vrindavan were getting very personal darshan of Krishna. Though hundreds of thousands of residents and millions of cows, everyone was gathered under his hill. But each and every person had an unobstructed front row seat. This is the mercy and compassion of the Lord. And we see this is not the only time he does this. In the Rasa Lila, all the gopis think, Krishna's only dancing with me. When the cowherd boys are enjoying their lunch with Krishna, Krishna's in the middle, they are seated all around. They all think, oh, I am having lunch with Krishna one-on-one. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is enjoying the Rath Yatra festival and he is dancing in the 7 kirtan parties, each party thinks, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is only dancing in our party. And in this time also, everyone thinks, oh, Krishna is looking at me. He's looking at me. But everyone is seeing that. Krishna's ability to reciprocate with us is unlimited. So we should not think, oh, Krishna has so many devotees, he'll never remember me. If we follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas, the Ragatmika Bhaktas, we can also have this darshan. 7 days, all the residents of Vrindavan were standing, watching Krishna. But each moment that passed, they felt more nourished. They were not getting tired, no need for sleep, no food. They didn't even want to blink. They could not get enough of the beauty and the nectarian darshan they were getting. 7 days. And each moment they were more nourished. How is that possible? Because when we are in an association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need nothing else. And sometimes we wonder, what if we get bored with Krishna and we want something else? It is not. He is limitless in his rasa, in his exchange. He is limitless. And so the residents of Vrindavan were so wonderfully enjoying this darshan of the Lord. 7 days, uninterrupted. Finally, their desires had become fulfilled. Mother Yashoda did not have to let Krishna go to the cowherd to the forest. No, 7 days, uninterrupted darshan. The gopis, who were always being restricted from seeing Krishna, now had uninterrupted darshan and were passing sideways glances to the Lord. The cowherd boys did not have to return home to dinner and go to their own houses. They were able to have uninterrupted darshan of the Lord. And in this way, the desire of all the residents of Vrindavan was so wonderfully fulfilled. As Krishna is holding Govardhana, torrents of rain are coming. Finally, Lord Indra realizes he is exhausted. All the water has been gone. He realizes, wow, what a mistake I made. What a mistake I made. Calling this foolish, arrogant, over-talkative child. I am the fool. I was the arrogant one. And he calls off the clouds. The rains cease. And Krishna, seeing that everything has now become safe, he instructs the residents, you may now go. Now our material logic may wonder, if it was raining for 7 days, how come there wasn't a flood? How come the water wasn't coming up into, or at least when they left, the lands must have been flooded? Again, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that by Krishna's potency, when each drop of rain touched the ground, it immediately evaporated. Not even one drop of rain was able to inundate Vraj after the residents had entered Govardhan. Govardhan had so many trees and flowers with swirling winds, torrential rain. Not even one leaf off of a flower was displaced. Not one stone by the flooding waters was moved. Entire Govardhan was kept fully intact, fully untouched. You can imagine what Lord Indra's position was. Sending the rains of destruction that destroy the entire universe. He was not able to separate even one leaf from a flower on Govardhan. Krishna taught a very strong lesson to Indra. And he didn't even have to speak one word to him. Not one word was uttered by Krishna. This is how Krishna is so sweet and magical. Remember, and for whose benefit? Indra's. We can pray to Krishna that he also smash our pride in whatever means necessary. Because it is our greatest fortune when our pride is smashed. And sometimes Krishna will send his devotees to smash our pride, or someone else will take it that way. So when the residents of Vrindavan left, as they were leaving, they were glorifying Krishna, they were singing his pastimes. The elderly gopis were giving Krishna, thinking he must be tired, some yogurt mixed with water. At one point during holding the Govardhan, 7 days, they thought we should help Krishna a little bit. So they started putting their hands, their sticks, the cowherd boys, everyone was holding. And they thought, oh, now we're giving some relief to Krishna. But Krishna saw that. So he just moves his finger like 1 micromillimeter. And whole Govardhan began. And he said, no, Krishna, you go back. They thought, oh, we are also lifting. Only Krishna was lifting. And he was not perspiring, he was not sweating his muscles. When the devotees were instructed by Srila Prabhupada to draw this pastime, so they drew this pastime, and they had Krishna like this, you explain, but they had these big muscles, biceps, triceps, shoulders. And Prabhupada said, this is a 7-year-old boy. Don't draw. You cannot. He is not lifting Govardhan. He does not need muscles. He has no material machinery. He is the supreme person. If Ananta Shesh is holding so many universes on the hoods, his hoods, which is an expansion of Krishna, how Krishna cannot lift a simple 60-mile-ish Govardhan hill? So don't let we talked about Aristasura, this idea of our material rationalizations, leading us to think that this is mythology or some cute story. Don't let that demon destroy our faith in our heart. It's very important. So as the residents were leaving, they were glorifying Krishna. And then Lord Indra shows us what to do. If we become prideful, we may. How to react. Lord Indra, realizing his mistakes, came to Krishna. He brought the Surabhi cow with him, knowing Krishna is very dear to cows. He's trying to butter him up. But then Lord Indra offers very wonderful, sweet prayers. A whole chapter is given, chapter 27. Lord Indra and Mother Surabhi offer prayers. Indra was very ashamed of having offended the Lord. Approaching him in a solitary place, Indra fell down and lay his helmet, whose effulgence was as brilliant as the sun, upon the Lord's lotus feet. King Indra said, "Your transcendental form, a manifestation of pure goodness, is undisturbed by change, shining with knowledge and devoid of passion and ignorance. In you does not exist the mighty flow of the modes of material nature, which is based on illusion and ignorance." Remember what he said. This is just some ordinary human being. And now, Lord Indra has understood. And he goes on to explain so many verses. Even fools like me, who proudly think themselves universal lords, quickly give up their conceit and directly take to the path of spiritually progressive, when they see you are fearless even in the face of time. Thus you punish the mischievous only to instruct them. Lord Indra saw that this punishment he got was only to instruct them, to benefit them. And he continues on offering beautiful prayers. You should read these prayers. And then he performs Abhishek of Krishna. And Airavata is offering the water. Surabhi is offering the milk. And so much Abhishek that a whole kund formed. And today you can still take darshan of this Govind Kund right at the foothill of Govardhana. And you can sprinkle some water on your head. And this water performed Abhishek to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and so on. So this is the pastime. We only, again, touched the surface of this pastime. 4 chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami is dedicated to this pastime. So we see the great importance of Govardhan Hill. It is non-different from Krishna himself. He personally incarnates as Govardhan and enjoys the offerings. He personally instructed the great importance of performing this Govardhan Puja. He initiated it, instructed, and then performed this puja. This puja we should do above all other pujas. It is the most important thing. He shows us the danger of pride, how we should be very cautious in our devotional life to rid ourselves of this enemy of pride in our heart. Humility is the path of success in devotional service. And he shows us the importance of taking to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is our only shelter. He is our only shelter. He is our only shelter. Krishna is there for us when we want him to be. He fulfills the desire of all of his devotees. It is just a question of what desires are manifest in our heart. By hearing these pastimes, we can gain faith that the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always protect us. Sometimes with Giriraj, sometimes with a slap, sometimes with the benedictions of great opportunities to engage in service. But everything the Lord does for us is for our protection and betterment. Because his only desire is to see our desires fulfilled. And if our desire is to become his pure devotee of the Lord, then Krishna will do everything in his power to make it happen. What is the limit of his power? There is no limit. Whatever obstacles we face, he will help us overcome them. but we must take his shelter, as the residents of Vrindavan did. They ran to a 7-year-old boy and said, "You save us, Krishna." That much faith they had. Standing under a giant mountain, teetering, balanced on the fingernail. They were only lost in the beautiful darshan of the Lord. 7 days, no tiring. They were fully nourished in the darshan of the Lord. He is so attractive, so beautiful. We can never get to the bottom of his beauty. Ananta Shesh has thousands of hoods, and he is constantly speaking about the glory and beauty and pastimes of the Lord since the beginning of time, and yet he is not even close to finishing. He'll never finish. This is the unlimited nature of the Lord. So this pastime we learned many things. So Friday, please join in this most auspicious Govardhana Puja. Bring some offerings. If not, take some off prasadam back. Circumambulate the hill 4 times and enjoy this wonderful festival. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yeah.
Okay. So from this story, what I understand is even Indra is not also having influence by 3 modes of nature, and so all the demigods also would be influenced, I think.
100%.
Yeah. And the pure devotee who is not influenced by these 3 modes of nature, material nature, I think they can be more than these demigods.
Oh yeah. The comment in question was, even Lord Indra was influenced by the modes of nature, succumbing to this pride. Remember, the demigods are jiva tattvas within the material world. Within the material world, there's always some level of conditioning, influence of the 3 modes. We see over and over again Lord Indra becoming fearful of his position, right? He is in stress, anxiety, and also dies. There's death. The position of Indra is maintained during the span of 1 Manu. And then a new Indra comes. Indra is a post. Different people occupy that post. All the devatas are posts. And one is found. Lord Brahma was also bewildered. He had personal darshan of Krishna at the beginning of creation. And when he sees Krishna seated in the middle of all the cowherd boys, eating foods, he's eating half-eaten rasgulla. Krishna's thinking, this is the supreme creator? And so he wanted to put forth a test. And so he stole all the cowherd boys and the calves, hid them in a cave. And Krishna expanded himself. And for 1 year, no one knew that all the cowherd boys had gone. Even their own mothers could not detect how long it takes a mother to detect whether this is my child or not. Instant. And Brahma saw, wow, the potency of Krishna. So this can happen. But the pure devotees of the Lord, who are fully purified from the modes of material nature, never succumb to that. Because they are fully protected by Krishna. And that is why we talked on Thursday about Radha Kund. It is only the most fortunate of fortunate pure devotees who can enter. Even great devotees like Lord Shiva and Narada Muni are not allowed to go to Radha Kund. So what is the position of the residents of Vrindavan? It is the highest of all positions one can achieve. Think about it in this context. We say Krishna is the person in home. Vishnu is Krishna in the form of office work, the judge, right? The highest of highest servants in the courtroom, right? Whoever the most qualified courtroom servant is of the judge, Can they go home and have a casual dinner with that judge? No. Who can go home and have a very casual dinner with that judge? His most intimate friends. The residents of Vrindavan are living amongst Krishna in the most intimate ways. Who can be higher than that? Right? Who can enter the personal quarters of the president in the White House? No staffer, no chief of staff, no one can enter. Only those who are most intimately associated with the president. Who is most intimately associated with Krishna? Those are the residents of Vrindavan. And they experience these pastimes. There is no higher position one can achieve than following in the footsteps of the Ragatmika Bhaktas. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explains that they are the highest, most perfected souls. Nice question. Comment. You had a question?
I have two questions. The first question, where is the pride? Is it a three mode of nature? Which mode it is? Working or like, say,
Pride.
Pride. And second question, like, someone says that, you're taking wonderful class or you're doing wonderful service. How do we divert the particular devotee to don't focus on, please focus on Krishna, because Krishna is ultimate, but how do we, it may not be inducing our pride, but I don't want to, how do we divert that? It's very challenging, like, if you do some service, someone says, we don't want to hear it, but we want to divert them, please don't focus on me, please focus on the Krishna, because everyone's serving Krishna. How do we?
Yeah. So in devotee association, how do we, avoid becoming prideful? Because, see, devotees are very kind. Like Krishna, they see some small service and they take that and expand it into the best of the best. And all the faults around it, they ignore. That is what Krishna does. Krishna does not, unfortunately, in our, at least speaking of myself only, I'm not a devotee, so I only see the faults and don't see the good. But devotees, they'll glorify. Oh, nice service you rendered, nice service you rendered. So that we cannot stop. But what we have to understand is we are a tiny, insignificant, infinitesimal spark of the Supreme Lord. So whatever great service we think we may be doing or somebody else may be saying we are doing, we must never forget we are a tiny, infinitesimal spark. A spark comes from a fire. Does it think, oh, I am now fire? It knows I am a spark only because I'm connected to the fire. I have only some existence because I'm connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whatever things are happening, it is happening because of the mercy of the Lord. By the mercy of Guru. By the mercy of the Acharyas. If we render some service and someone glorifies, where we could even do that service if Srila Prabhupada had not come and given us the process to perform that service? If we just remember that single fact, whatever we may achieve, who will get the credit? Srila Prabhupada. Because anything we do in devotional service, how we can even speak about Govardhana Puja. How many of us knew Govardhana Puja before reading Prabhupada's Krishna book? This most important instruction that Krishna himself performed. How many of us had insight into? Very few. So yeah, whatever we're able to do, we have. And not just speaking it. Speaking it is irrelevant. It has to be in here. Because Krishna will find what's in here and smash. If we are lucky. If we are lucky. If we ask him to. If we tell Krishna, don't smash me, Krishna won't smash us. And we'll smash ourselves. Through the danger of pride. So, it is not that we should act humbly. We should become humble. It's a big, big difference. And how to become humble? We must purify through the process of intense sadhana. Because it is very easy to become humble when we actually see who we are. But due to false ego, I think I'm something I'm not. And that's where pride comes. We told Krishna, not you, me. That's why we ended up here. Pride is the thing. So, when you receive some honor, some glory, know where to put that glory. Don't put it here. Put it here, at the feet of Srila Prabhupada, at the mercy of the acharyas. That's because that's where it belongs. That is not an act. That is reality. And we must be convinced of that reality. Then it'll enter here. Otherwise, it'll just enter here. But it's okay, start here. If it's not here yet, it's okay. And you see Srila Prabhupada. He was receiving. One struck me. When he entered the town of Surat, he was carried in on a giant palanquin. Marching band. People from the tops of buildings were showering flowers. Such a grand reception. And not 1 ounce of pride. He was simply proud of his spiritual master, who had instructed him to spread this message. His pride was in the pride of his spiritual master and the previous acharyas. That is what we should be. We should be proud of Krishna. If one thing we want to be proud of, we can be proud of this. I am an infinitesimal, tiny spark of something phenomenal. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's okay?
The first question.
What was the first question? Sorry.
The pride, where is the pride? Like which
Oh.
mood is...
It's throughout the modes. Passion exhibits a lot of the pride. Okay? Because I can do this, I want this, I'm accumulating this, that. So we see it very heavy. But you'll see pride manifest through all the modes. And pride manifests itself in devotional service too. That means it's not pure. It's not Shuddha Sattva. It's impure. Right? So, and pride comes from our attachment, from lust, right? That it manifests. So how that manifests, as we interact with the material modes, we begin to think, I am independent. I am my own doer. I am separate from the Supreme Lord. I can maintain myself. Don't you see how much is in my bank account? How many friends I have on Facebook? How beautiful my face is? All these things we start convincing ourselves. And there goes our humility and surrender to Krishna. But when that comes, fall at the lotus feet of Krishna. Please, Krishna, if you desire, smash my pride. Then brace yourself. It's good for us.
One more question.
Yeah.
Does the mode of goodness love any impurities? Like passion and ignorance have more, like love, greed, anger, relation. But mode of
Goodness is still within the material world. Shuddha Sattva is where we want to go. So within the mode of goodness, there's some attachment, right? From the mode of goodness, we become attached to our knowledge and to our relative happiness. Because we are performing pious activities, we get good things. Body is healthy, good family, nice intelligence, good looks, good wealth. So we become attached to that. That's an impurity because we are not attached to Krishna. So all the modes are chains. One may be a golden chain, one may be an iron chain, and one may be a rusted chain. But they're all chains. We must transcend the modes. Right? We must. Sagunan samititaitan. Sagunan, all the gunas. We must transcend. Krishna says. Don't stay in the mode of goodness. Prabhupada, I think, gave the example of mode of goodness is like the runway. From the runway, the plane can take off. But if the plane stays on the runway, what was the purpose of approaching the runway? It must take off and elevate. And that is through bhakti. Bhakti is not in the mode of goodness. Bhakti is transcendental to the three modes. Any other questions? Yes.
You talked about the benefits of Ekadashi fast. Just want to check, in the past times, is there any pastime about the Ekadashi thing? I just want to know how in the history Krishna talks about it.
Yeah, there's I'll tell it in short form, but one day we'll tell the long story. But yeah, there's a whole pastime of how Ekadashi manifested. And basically, in again, very short form, the personality of sin, Papa Purush, was bewildered because Krishna had come to this lower planet, Yamaraja's place, where all the sinful people were being punished. And Krishna, seeing the difficult situation and the crying and the screaming, he became very compassionate. And so he left one murti and he said, "You worship this deity." And the deity was Ekadashi. And the deity was so potent that everybody was becoming purified and there was no sin. So the personification of sin, Papa Purush said, "Krishna, you have given me this responsibility to reside with all those who are sinful, but everyone's becoming purified. Now I have nowhere to go. You have taken away my responsibility. What to do?" So Krishna said, "Okay, on this day, it'll come twice in the lunar calendar per month. On this day of Ekadashi, the 11th day, you can reside within grains." So Papa Purush resides within grains because that was the place he could go. So devotees then know to abstain from grains on this day. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established in his teachings the great importance of following this fast. See, in Krishna consciousness, we don't have so many fasts and austerity. Very limited austerity. Sure, but these limited ones we should do with full intensity. Fasting on the appearance days and fasting on Ekadashi, primarily. Those we should. We don't have to go through any other days. We can feast. No problem. Because feasting is also purifying as long as we're feasting on prasad. That is the short form. And we'll tell the full story one time.
Yeah, I have another question.
Yeah.
To practice bhakti, you have been saying ABCD is the mode, right? And in this Kali Yuga. But we also heard without this ABCD, people have also reached Krishna. So what is the exact difference? Is it because of the contamination of the people in Kali Yuga that ABCD is the preferred method?
Yeah. So can we approach Krishna without our sadhana, basically, without our ABCDs? And yes, Krishna can come and directly bestow mercy upon you and he can purify you without much effort from you. And it's happened in the past. The question is whether that is a reliable strategy or not.
Yeah.
That strategy we can liken to your child comes and "I don't need to go to school, I don't need to study." And you'll ask the question, "Well then how will you maintain yourself, earn your income?" And you'll say, "Well, I'll just go to the store and buy one lottery ticket. And I'll maintain myself." Now that strategy could work in theory. But is this a reliable strategy? No. So, we must take to our sadhana. And actually the devotees experience such happiness in the sadhana. It becomes an opportunity, not an obligation. The chanting, the association, the reading of Krishna's pastime, the taking of prasadam, it all becomes part of the bliss. Because in the spiritual world, what are we going to do? A, associate. B, we're going to discuss the pastimes of Krishna. We're going to speak about the pastimes of Krishna. And we're going to honor prasadam. It is not just a material world activity. That carries through. What are all the residents of Vrindavan doing? ABCD. So, yeah, one can purify directly by the mercy of Krishna. But it is a very high-risk proposition. So Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu encourage us and guides us how to perform our Vaidhi sadhana. And he gives us very detailed what to do. 64 angas of sadhana he gives. He says, you follow these. And that will purify you. Okay?
Chaturmas Vratam is ending last Ekadasi.
Not a few days after Ekadasi. November 3rd. November 3rd is the end of Chaturmas.
Next.
Yeah. It's the last day of Bhishma Panchaka. Ekadashi is on the 31st. And then 4 days later is
Paurnami.
okay. So we'll chant and sing Damodarastaka. Oh, you have a question? Yes. Okay. Yes, please. Anything else? Thank you very much.